right, this edition of Chin Music, our baseball show at TalkNorth.com, is entitled, What the Hell Happened? We're going to ask LaVelle E. Neal III what happened to the Pohlads selling, what this means for the team's future, what it means for the team's payroll, who else might be involved here, and is he as surprised as I am? Yes, this is Chin Music, our baseball show at TalkNorth.com. Roy is touring Europe. He'll be back next week. LaVelle, of course, baseball guru and columnist at the Star Tribune. I'm Jim Souhan, also from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. Chin Music is coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Summer is flying by and will be over before we know it. Don't waste it on repairs. From flickering lights to not-so-hot water heaters, let Aquarius take care of your to-do list. With $98 off any electrical or plumbing repair, we're ready to rescue your summer from household headaches so you can enjoy a worry-free home. Aquarius, local, trusted, and earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
In the summer of 1995, DVDs arrived in stores and Seinfeld dominated TV viewing. And a local Minnesota nature show called Minnesota Bound, hosted by Ron Shera and Raven the Black Lab, hit the air on KARE 11 on NBC. We're celebrating 30 years of storytelling with a TV special on Sunday, August 17th. Check out mnbound.com for more information.
This episode is also presented to you by Giggly THC Beverages and OnX Maps. We'll tell you about them and our other sponsors here in a minute. Let's just start with the big picture question here, LaVelle. What happened and why did it happen?
Yeah, those are two great questions. It's hard to believe that it was just 2-3 weeks ago we were led to believe that the Twins were headed down a path to being sold to a new owner who would take over, controlling interest and be the lead investor and kind of usher in a new era of leadership in this town. But something has changed dramatically in the last couple of weeks where Joe Pohlad was able to maintain control. And I think if you go back to the beginning of the process, we all heard that Joe still wanted to give baseball a go here. And basically he was voted out by the rest of the family. That's Carl Pohlad's 3 sons and the 7 grandchildren. So it looked like the team was going to change hands. So I'm very curious to find out how Joe was able to sell this to the family in order for them to change course. In addition to wanting $1.7 billion for the team, they were also carrying over $400 million in debt. What number was able to buy out off the rest of the family members to sign off on this? I find this absolutely remarkable because I will share this with everyone. As of Wednesday morning, there was still a group out there expecting to have a conversation with the Twins about possibly buying total control of the team. And that upcoming meeting has since been canceled. So something's happened pretty quick here to change this around. I'm curious to know what percentage did they sell. If it's based on a $1.7 billion evaluation, if it's 30%, that's roughly $550 million. That's enough to buy out the debt and maybe, be able to reinvest in the team. This leads in so many more unanswered questions, Jim. How does this affect payroll? What type of moves can they make? Our greatest fear was that if the Twins were not sold, that they would trade Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan. What are their immediate futures? What is the plan for success here? Is the vision changed? What can be different here? There's so many unanswered questions going forward about how this franchise is going to move forward.
Yes, and what's fascinating about this is what we don't know. And we don't know who the new minority ownership groups are. One is reputed to be from the East Coast. One is reputed to be Minnesota business people. And there is, as upset as the fan base is, I understand why the fan base is upset, there is the possibility of a happy ending here. And that would be that the Pohlads keeping the team provides that stability that we're used to. They're not going to move the team. They're not going to do anything crazy with the ballpark. They're not going to make any threats. They do run a very stable organization, and stability can be very important. Glenn Taylor ran the Timberwolves for a long time, and it felt like the least stable franchise in town until they finally hired Tim Connolly. He's been very good since, but instability is not good. If you can combine that stability with maybe new ownership groups providing the money for them to be more aggressive in free agency, I mean, that's That's the happy ending. Is that a possibility?
It is. I think it is. And to me, the only way that Joe would be able to sell this to the other family members was that was a promise from the new owners, the new investors, that they could achieve such heights. I really thought this was a great chance for the family to get out. I wrote about that for our website this morning. They had their shot to move on, especially baseball's got they got to clean up their financial house. There could be a work stoppage after 2027. The Dodgers get $300 million a year from the TV deal. The Twins are less than $50 million. I mean, the disparities between have and have nots. I thought this would be a perfect time for them to get out and move forward. So for them to change course, do 180, and figure out a way to hold on to this franchise, that's going to tell me that your vision of a happy ending could actually be realistic for them. They must have gotten some sort of assurances that they can head down such a path.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how the news leaks out on this.
And we should know in a couple of weeks, too. I think we should know in the next 2 or 3 weeks who these investors are. A Twins official has mentioned that time frame, and plus, once these things get to the league office, Jim, someone gives Ken Rosenthal a call, and the next thing you know, it's out. They can sign all the NDAs they can, but once the league gets involved, there's loose lips in New York.
No doubt about it. It will leak out, and it will leak out to the usual suspects because they use. And listen, Kenny's an excellent reporter, but he also works for an organization that has a large financial relationship with Major League Baseball. That's how scoops are made in this day and age, for the large part. So I'm trying to think of an unusual way to look at this, because the obvious fan reaction is this is tragedy. The Pohlads are terrible owners. They're not going to spend more money. They should have spent more money. They're the reason the team is losing. Let's go to this. One of the things Joe Pohlad said was that ownership did not force the sell-off at the trading deadline. I'm interested in your reaction to that. I'll start with my reaction to that. Even if ownership didn't call Derek Falvey and said, get rid of payroll, get rid of players, the fact that the front office has to operate under a certain financial parameter means that they always are in a position where they have to look at future payrolls. They have to look at players who are getting expensive. They have to look at saving money when they can to create space to make moves next year. So my take on that is, even if Joe Pohlad is being 100% honest, Falvey and Zoll know what the parameters are, and they know that sometimes they have to get rid of good players to create financial flexibility. What's your take on that?
Well, see, the information I got for the front office felt they had little choice in the direction that was taken. So someone's not telling the full truth here. Did Joe say that, well, this was not my idea? Could it have been the rest of the family telling him, let's do this? Someone's fibbing, I think. And Falvey, and going back to Falvey, Bill Smith, Terry Ryan, they always knew, they had an idea of what ownership, what the family was willing to spend. And that drove their decisions a lot. So I got to imagine that Derek understood the financial situation that the Pohlad family was facing with this club, the debt load they were dealing with, and acted accordingly. So maybe there wasn't a directive, but there probably was kindred spirits in knowing the situation and knowing what approach was needed at the trade deadline, especially since the Twins could not play their way into possibly adding. And don't forget, Derek Falvey pointed that out too, that it was just a few weeks before the deadline that they were thinking about trying to help the cause. So they did a major 180 there. We've had two big 180s
Yes.
in the last month here. The direction before the trade deadline and the direction of the sale.
Yes, and both are kind of shocking. All right, let's get into some more ownership and front office implications. We'll talk about some actual baseball here later in the show. We'll also do our Booze and Blues segment at the end. I just want to remind you this is that Giggly THC Beverages, presenting sponsor of this show. I had one last night, and I woke up today feeling great. I love whiskey. I was on a vacation with my wife over the weekend, and I drank some whiskey. One night I drank whiskey, and I felt good the next day. The next night I drank whiskey, and I felt horrible the next day. I never have to worry about that when I drink Giggly. Giggly.com. Use a promo code Giggly North to get up to 50% off your first order. If you follow Giggly on socials, you'll find other promo codes. They sell them at Quick Trips. I tend to buy, and other stores around Minnesota, I tend to buy them online, have them delivered right to my door. It's just so easy. And it's just a great thing to have. If you have anything go on the next morning, having a Giggly the night before is a good idea because you'll sleep well, you'll wake up feeling great, and everything they make tastes great. I like the cocktails. My wife likes the teas. They also have seltzers and gummies and candies and everything else. Giggly.com. Check it out. Also, now that we're in late summer now, not a lot of time left, but you might want to grab the boat as soon as you can. Let Onyx Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. Onyx Fish also shows you hot spots, lake by lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download Onyx Fish on the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game. All right. Anything else about the ownership decision that strikes you or that you want to get to?
I kind of wish that the Twins would have waited to make this announcement until they could also reveal who the investors were. I think this would have been a better sell job. We know it's not Glenn Taylor because he released a statement saying that it wasn't him or any of his partners. But I think more transparency is going to be important to this club going forward. And that would have been a step if they just could have waited a week or two and maybe revealed who the investors are going to be, because we're going to need more transparency going forward in terms of the new vision here. How do they plan of getting this team to be competitive again? Do they really feel as close as some people think they are? They've got a whole lot of nearly major league ready talent. How's that going to be utilized going forward here? So I kind of wish they would have waited just so they could provide even more information to the fan base, and it may have softened the blow of hearing this news.
The one name that always gets thrown out immediately whenever the Pohlads are rumored to be selling or rumored to be looking for investors, whatever, is Marty Davis from Cambria, Sun Country. And I had always been told that, hey, Marty, he's a very wealthy man. He's done very well, but he doesn't have the $2 billion, whatever you have to have in the bank to be able to just purchase a major league franchise. But I wonder if he could be involved as a minority owner. Marty
loves baseball. He loves baseball almost as much as he loves the Gophers, because I see him a lot of Gopher football games. He was at the Hall of Fame the year before Joe Mauer was inducted. He was there talking to Mauer and Morneau. It's very possible. Marty was not considered a threat to buy the team. Marty likes buying things when they're undervalued and making a profit off of them. And it's hard to buy a sports franchise that's undervalued, So I don't think he was ever going to be involved. But as a minority investor, as a limited partner, I could totally see that. And he would be great for the organization. He's a positive man. He speaks glowingly about the community and how sports can bind the community together. I've talked to Marty on several occasions, so I know his passion for sports and his belief in how the Twins could be a winning franchise and how they can be an asset to the community. So it would not surprise me if Marty is part of this group.
So as the conversation once again becomes payroll, Twins, or what are the Twins ranked? Like they're around 20th or 18th, 22nd, somewhere in that range.
Right.
As we're talking about how they have to spend more money and free agency is the key, and they should have spent more money after 2023. And I don't necessarily disagree with any of that, but it is fascinating to hear Twins fans obsess about payroll size and be angry at the Pohlads for not spending more when the team with the best record in baseball has a lower payroll. The Milwaukee Brewers are doing it. Farm system, player development, not spending crazy money. In fact, they've traded away some really good pitchers. They let their manager leave when he wanted a big payday. They're winning the old-fashioned way with farm system, growing your own players, developing your own players. Should Twins fans pay any attention to that?
They should, and the Twins have won. They have done more with less in the past. They've been able to win divisions without having the highest payroll. For years in the Central, the White Sox were clearly outspending them, and they couldn't win as many games. And you're right, it can be done. The Royals went to back-to-back World Series in the 2000s without having a huge payroll. The Rays have made the World Series before. It can happen, but usually by the time the smoke clears after the first couple of rounds of the postseason, the highest spending teams are usually there, I keep being called a pole pocket protector, but I just try to explain to fans the other side of this, that there's disparities in how, with revenue that teams have, you could still win with less, but, it's very, very hard to do. And that, spending's not always the answer too. There's been some teams that have lost 100 games with one of the bigger payrolls in baseball. So it goes both ways.
Yes, it does. It'll be fascinating to see if the Brewers can make a postseason run with this team. You can, as we saw with the Twins in the 2010s, you can make the playoffs. You can win divisions with lower payrolls. Sometimes where the payroll disparity really shows up is that veteran free agent pitcher at the top of the rotation might give the Yankees or the Dodgers or a team like that or the Texas Rangers a big advantage in the postseason.
Exactly. So, but the way the Brewers play is rather fascinating. I know this isn't really Brewers talk, but it's a relentless style. They put pressure on defenses. They play a little ball. They've got speed. They got some power. And they got some pitching. Brandon Woodruff's back, and they just won 12. They just won 12 consecutive games, Jim. And I didn't know this. The popular restaurant in Milwaukee, George Webb, apparently they promised free hamburgers for everyone in Milwaukee if the Brewers had won 12 consecutive games. So they won 11 earlier in the year and then lost a chance at 12. But yesterday, Woodruff's on the mound. And they pull it off. They won 12 straight, so everyone in Milwaukee gets a free hamburger from George Webb, which I think is pretty awesome. When the Royals went to the World Series, they were lauded for putting the ball in play and creating havoc that way. Plus, they had a lights-out bullpen. If they were leading after 6 innings, the game was basically over. So, if you can find a style that suits your roster and able to employ that style and beat teams over the head with it, it can work.
It can. All right, let's get to some current Twins players and our Booze and Blues segment. We do want to thank a great Minnesota company, Minnesota Masonic Charities.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
And here's Talk North star Michael Russo for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
All right. I found it fascinating that, right when we were saying, hey, man, Clemens, he's really kind of secured himself a spot with this organization. And as soon as Keishel wins the American League Player of the Week award, they both go into lulls. Keishel, I think, is 1 for his last 12 or something like that, 1 for his last 13. Clemens broke like an 0 for 19 with his double on Wednesday night. So it's just a reminder of how hard the game is. It's so often right when you're ready to really praise somebody, they're about to hit a lull because there's always a market correction. So how optimistic should fans be about Keishel and or Clemens being high impact players for next year?
I still think the ceiling for Keishel is high.
Agreed.
I love his swing. I love how he attacks pitches. He's aggressive in the zone. I haven't seen him chase very much. I like the way he plays second base. He and Brooks Lee turned a beautiful double play yesterday to help Joe Ryan's cause out. So there's a definitely upside there. I think just because there's no other option that Cody Clemens, could be the starting first baseman next year, unless the Twins, with this, with being more financially liquid, can go out and buy a first baseman, because the Twins need a first base. They need first base production and they need DH production. If they can go out and buy that or trade for it during the offseason, more power to them. But if they can't, then I'm not afraid of watching Cody play there. He has done something to his swing where he's generating more bat speed, and his ability to drive balls out of the park to left center field, I think, is impressive and is a good trait to have. Keishel has that ability as well. I like both those kids. Of course, Clemens isn't a kid. I think he's 28, 29 years old.
He's been around.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, Jim. Just going into New York. Historically, the Twins just going into New York, man. That's just a tall order. They just lost like 9 consecutive games to them before winning last night, or maybe 10 straight or something like that. So it's just, things are different. The team shows up, the years being on the beat, just coming into New York and going into that stadium, and you walk in at 2:30 in the afternoon, you can hear the ghosts whispering in the outfield, and the Yankee aura starts to build up as soon as the gates open. And it just seems like, the Twins are the Washington Generals and the Yankees are the Harlem Globetrotters. You kind of know how the story is going to end. So I just think that, the Twins were playing decent baseball, but they still had to go into the Bronx and deal with all that Yankeeness. And I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys pick it up now that they're back home.
Yeah. Royce Lewis continues to struggle. He'll have a couple of games or a week where it looks like he's coming out of it and he's doing what he did to make everybody so optimistic about his future. But you watched him last night, even the one hit he got, it was kind of a breaking pitch down in a way that he just, kind of softly pulled down the left field line. When he's going well, he hits that pitch hard up the middle or the other way. Right now, it looks like he's desperate to hit the ball over the fence to left field. And and he's the guy who always talked about the ability to hit the ball the other way, hit the ball hard up the middle is what made him a tough out. It just looks like he's hoping more than planning right now.
I know. And he's chasing a lot of pitches down on the way, it looks like. And not going with the pitch, as you pointed out, but just chasing pitches that aren't in the zone. So, he's searching for it. He's feeling for it. He's pressing. And it doesn't look good right now. And, with the season, with no one is with the possibility of going to the postseason now not there, you hope that he'll calm down a little bit, work on just some of the basics, and start building himself back up. And over the final weeks of the season, maybe have a little momentum that he can take into the offseason and use that to slingshot into 2026. Because right now it's not working. It's been kind of a lost season at the plate for him. I just want him to stay healthy the rest of the season, and so he can stay in the lineup and figure it out. Because at this point, Jim, you play the guy, you put him at third every day, and you let him figure it out, and you hope that the light bulb comes on and he has a little bit of success and he starts to build some momentum offensively that can serve him well going forward. Yeah,
they really don't have an alternative to Royce Lewis being very good.
Nope.
And if you're going to envision this team being good next year, the only way I see it happening is the starting pitching stays healthy. If starting pitching stays healthy, the starting pitching will be good enough. especially with the depth they've added through the trades. They need Keishel and Royce to be guys, to be guys you can plug in the lineup who are going to produce a lot of runs, and then they're going to have to find a way to rebuild the bullpen. But the bullpen won't matter if they can't score runs, and they're going to need Royce Lewis and Keishel to score runs.
Here's the other thing too, Jim. I'm just thinking about the lineup next year and how those guys are going to fit into it. What are they going to do for corner outfielders? They have just like flooded their roster with guys who can play the corner out. This Alan Roden guy, I haven't been impressed with since he's been here. He's got a nice swing, but he chases breaking balls out of the zone, and he's not making hard contact. They got Josh Outman from the Dodgers in the Brock Stewart trade. He's probably going to be up eventually. And so you got all these corner outfield types, and I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work out. Although I think Outman can play center field.
He can, yeah.
Yeah, he can play at center field and be an asset there. So maybe he'll be the Harrison Bader next year. I don't know. But I'm curious to see how this is going to shake out and how this affects Wallner and Larnach, because I think they got to feel like they're on the hot seat a little bit. I also think Brooks Lee's got to feel like he's on a hot seat a little bit with Keishel up and Kalen Culpepper, who's having a fantastic year at AA. A year from now, we're going to be talking about him and clearing a path for him to get to the majors. So some of these guys are on borrowed time here if they want to stick around and be part of the future.
Yeah, and they all are a little different. Wallner, his OPS is pretty good. You know, he's productive. The consistency isn't there, but he does produce. Larnach, if you just watch the games and didn't pay attention to stats, you might think he's having a really good year, but his OPS is not impressive.
No.
Once again, he's just not a regularly productive player. Brooks Lee has been a disappointment offensively. He might have to be the shortstop until somebody else comes along, but he's not the hitter we thought he might be. He's not the hitter that got everybody excited. They still got to see Royce Lewis produce. They have to hope Buxton can stay healthy. They have hope Jeffers can be a run producer.
He's been hitting a lot better lately.
He's been very good lately. Too late for this team, for this team's contention this year, but he's very capable of being a middle of the order producer. But man, there's so many, way more question marks than certainties in that lineup.
I know. And once again, I just think it's hard for a manager to fill out a lineup if he doesn't know who the middle of the order hitters are going to be. And Roy's has pounded that fact home time and time again, and he's right. It was much easier to build a lineup when Nelson Cruz was sitting in the 3-hole. It definitely was, and the Twins don't have that right now, and that's got to be a priority for Rocco going forward. And Jim, one thing we didn't talk about is that how the Pohlads maintaining ownership of the club, how that affects Falvey and Rocco, because I think some people wonder if there was going to be a change in both those seats, but I don't think so now.
No, I think that new ownership coming in could have very easily said they've missed the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years. They've collapsed 2 years in a row.
Yep.
Let's start over. And I think the Pohlads value Falvey and Falvey values Rocco. I just don't think they are of a mind to make big changes. Maybe it'll surprise us, but I think they'll stand pat.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's a reason why Rocco's contract was extended through the 2026 season. I almost think they're a package. I think if one goes, the other one's going to go too. They have a great working relationship. Falvey has a lot of respect for Rocco. I just can't see. First of all, I can't blame Rocco. We can't blame Rocco for everything that's gone wrong this year. There's a lot of guys who have underperformed. He can't grab the bat and go out there for them. And I think he's had to deal, with dealing with injuries to key players the last couple of years, and trying to put together a lineup that can win and trying to break in younger players. So it's not easy. So I think bringing back Rocco is not that bad of a decision.
No, he's just the easy. Listen, I always say this. Tom Kelly was getting criticized by this fan base when he was winning World Series. The manager's just the easiest target for anything that possibly goes wrong in a baseball game. You can't win without talent. You can't win without players producing, and a manager can't make a player produce. All you can do is put them in a position and hope they perform. So we agree on that. Let's get to our Booze and Blues segment. I'll keep this short. I was in Mexico. We ended up doing some mezcal tasting. I'd never really tried much mezcal. I'm kind of liking it. I'm kind of feeling like it's almost like Mexican scotch. It's got the smokiness, the earthiness, and yet it tastes a little more like it's almost like a blend of good tequila and good scotch.
You're using a word that I'm not familiar with. I was just looking at it, right? It's a distilled alcoholic beverage produced by agave plants.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of it's really kind of a smoky,
Yes.
smoky version of tequila.
That sounds tantalizing. I love the tequila that kind of has like a smoky, peppery finish to it. And if that's what Mezcal offers, then I'm all for that. Did you bring some back with you?
I did.
We could have a show in which we're sampling this Mezcal, and then we can continue this conversation.
Well, there's a possibility of doing a show with Roy at some point this summer where we all do put ourselves in a position where we can sip on a few things. So maybe we'll have to add that to the mix. My guess is Roy is such a big fan of whiskey and tequila that he's tried Mezcal. We'll have to ask him next week what his view of that is.
Absolutely.
Right. Go ahead, LaVelle.
I said, absolutely. That sounds like a plan.
Beautiful. All right. Good stuff, LaVelle. I appreciate it. We'll talk again next week. I think Roy will be back by next week. We'll get his view on all of these things and on the roster and baseball in general. We do appreciate you listening. We have a new fantasy football show with Kevin Gorg and Randy Shaver. Check out Randy Shaver's high school football show. Check out Don Mitchell's interview with former Vikings safety Anthony Mitchell this week. We have Rosen Sports Monday. Russo and LaPanta on the Wild, Krasinski on the Wolves, Viking Update Show, Alec Lewis Show, Jeff Diamond Show, all in the Vikings. Check it all out. We do appreciate it. And we will talk to you next week.